Hello everyone, welcome to the theory class. Today we're going to cover lesson 32. So before we get started, let's go ahead and do our evaluation for lesson 31. All right, here we go, ready? Number 1 is people. Where are all of the people? Number 2 is sizzling. The steak is sizzling on the grill. Number 3, simple. That is a simple task. Number 4 is pickle. Do you want to eat the pickle? Number 5, cradles. She cradles her baby when she rocks her. Number 6, important. This is an important lesson. Number 7, baffle. The concept will baffle you. Number 8 is concept. Do you understand the concept? Number 9, triple. Do you want a triple scoop of ice cream? Number 10 is inquire. Did you inquire about the loan? Number 11 is battled. They battled it out on the field. Number 12 is dwell. Where does he dwell? Number 13 is trouble. They gave us a lot of trouble. Number 14 is investigation. Is the investigation still going on? And number 15 is ample. He received ample time to complete it. All right, let's go ahead and look at our board here and see how you did. Number 1 is people, P, long E-P-L. That was the only exception with the final PL, so only because we don't have a word that that would be written as peem, so we can do that. Plus, it's a common word. Okay, number 2, sizzling, S-I-Z. Come back for final L, come back for final G. Number 3, simple, S-I-M, and then come back for initial P, final L. You don't want to come back for the PL on this side. On the final side, it will look like sim, mini. Number 4, pickle, P-I-K, come back for final L. Number 5, cradles, K-R, long A-D, come back for final L, come back for final Z. Number 6, important, P-O-R-N. Number 7, baffle, B-A-F-L. Number 8, concept, K-O-N, come back for S-E-P-T. Number 9, triple, T-R-I-P, come back for final L. If you don't come back, it's going to look like trim. Okay, number 10, inquire, K-W short I-R. So it doesn't look like choir. That's why we write it with a short I. Number 11, battled, B-A-T, come back for final L, come back for final D. Number 12, dwell, D-W-E-L. Number 13, trouble, T-R-U-B-L. Number 14, investigation, V-E-G-S. And number 15, ample, A-M, come back for initial P, final L. Again, you want to do that, use this initial P so it doesn't look like am, many. All right. All right, so moving right along to lesson 32. This is probably going to be your most challenging lesson in theory, all of theory, I think. So when I was in theory, I thought it was the most challenging and I spent the most time on this lesson. So you want to really spend some extra time with it, not only just to write it, but really to be able to read what you wrote. So it's not really hard to write. It's more just understanding what you wrote. So let's go ahead and start with 32.1. The first theory principle that we're going to learn is the final FPL for words that end with MP, such as lamp, lump, and so forth. So basically, you have to think of it as the F stands for the P, because we've got our M here, and we have to borrow the F for the P, and it's also out of keyboard order. So here's your M, and we're going to pretend like this is a P, and it's also out of order. The reason why we do this is because it saves a stroke. So if I were to write lump and write it out, I would have to write L-U-M, come back for final P. So if we borrow the F for the P, I can write it in one stroke, L-U-F-P-L. And then we've got lump. So all of the MP words end with final FPL. So again, it's going to take some getting used to as far as reading it and remembering to use your final FPL for the MP words. Okay, so spend extra time on that. So it's very similar to the words that end with ST when we borrow like the FT for the ST. It's the same concept. The only difference is it's also out of order. So we've got our M here, we're using the F for the P, and it comes before the M. So that's the only difference. Okay, so let's look at some of our words. We've got lamp, so L-A-M-P or F-P-L. Okay, limp, I'm going to point to it so that I'm not in the way, L-I-F-P-L. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to go across. So lamp, and then we've got ramp, R-A-F-P-L. Hump, H-U-F-P-L. Limp, L-I-F-P-L. Lump, L-U-F-P-L. Pump, P-U-F-P-L. Dump, D-U-F-P-L. Amp, A-F-P-L. Amp. Thump, T-H-U-F-P-L. Stamp, S-T-A-F-P-L. And again, you're going to need to practice these before you start your homework. It will make it so much easier. Okay, and you will get used to it and you will get to know it as long as you study it. You practice it and you practice reading it. We've got camp, K-A-F-P-L. Damp, D-A-F-P-L. Bump, B-U-F-P-L. Jump, J-U-F-P-L. Vamp, V-A-F-P-L. Pimp, P-I-F-P-L. Wimp, W-I-F-P-L. Hemp, H-E-F-P-L. Temp, T-E-F-P-L. Rump, R-U-F-P-L. Comp, K-O-F-P-L. Blimp, B-L-I-F-P-L. Primp, P-R-I-F-P-L. Chump, K-H-U-F-P-L. Chimp, K-H-I-F-P-L. Stomp, S-T-O-F-P-L. Cramp, K-R-A-F-P-L. Skimp, S-K-I-F-P-L. Plump, P-L-U-F-P-L. Chomp, K-H-O-F-P-L. Okay, so those are your final MP words. Okay, so 32.1. Looking at 32.2, we've got practice sentences. Looking down in on line 9, second sentence over. It says, when can we take this load to the dump? Don't forget to phrase when can. Okay, W-H, final K, when can. You need to go through and underline all of your phrases so you don't forget. Okay, and if you have a hard time with the FPL, go through all of your words in these sentences, lamp, and write it down, L-A-F-P-L. It will help you to remember. Okay, everything else there looks good. All right. Looking at 32.3, we've got another theory principle. And this one is using our FK for final SK. Again, it's very much like the FT. We borrowed the F for the S for ST words. Same concept. We're borrowing the F for the S for SK words. So here's our K, right? And we're going to use our F. And the reason being is we want to save a stroke because our S is over here. So like dusk. If I wrote it the way that the keys are, I would have to write it as D-U-S, come back for final K. So we want to save that stroke. So we're going to write dusk as D-U-F-K. Okay. Again, it's going to take some practice with reading your notes and practicing writing your note, or practice writing on your machine. Okay. All right. So let's see. You also want to, we also borrow the F as the S, so it doesn't look like a word ending in X. You know, I know the S is here, and sometimes I'll have students ask me, well, why can't we borrow, here's the K, why can't we just borrow the S here? Because if we use BGS, that's our final X, so that's not going to work. Okay, so that's why we have to use the F as the S, S-K. All right? All right, so, okay, so let's go ahead and look at these words. We've got dusk, D-U-F-K for the S. Task, T-A-F-K. Musk, M-U-S-K. Flask, F-L-A-S-K. Whisk, W-H-I-S-K. Risk, R-I-S-K. Frisk, F-R-I-S-K. Mask, M-A-S-K. Desk, D-E-S-K. Tusk, T-U-S-K. Disc, D-I-S-K. Husk, H-U-S-K. And then we've got bask, brisk, mosque. Mosque is going to be written as M-O-S-K. It's got that ah sound, but it's spelled with an O, so we're going to continue with the O. Then we've got ask, disc. Oh, and that's a repeat. That's okay. No worries. Busk, cusk, rusk, cask. Now let's look at corn husk. Corn, K long O-R-N, husk, H-U-S-K. Kiosk. Now kiosk, we're going to write it the way it sounds. Key, K long E, and then osk, O-S-K. Mollusk. M-O-L, come back for U-F-K, mollusk. Okay, so that is 32.3. Final FK for the SK, for words that end with SK. All right, 32.4, we've got your practice sentences for the final SK words. Now, if you look at line 6 over at the second sentence, it says, the desk was too large for the room. Make sure you phrase for the, it's just F-O-R-T. And if you have the word fort, that would be a long O, so it does not conflict. Okay. All right. 32.5, we've got another theory principle. This is loaded with new theory principles. These are words that end with -ch, R-C-H, the -ch sound. So again, this, if you notice, we've got our R, and our CH is here. So we are using these 3 keys. The only thing that is tricky about it is it's out of keyboard order. So we hear the we hear the R first, the and then the CH, but the way it's going to come out is you're going to see the F, then the R, and then the P. So really the words are going to look like F or P. So you are using the right keys, but it's just going to be out of order. Okay, so let's look at these words. So we've got search, S-A-E-F-R-P, search. Lurch, L-U-F-R-P. Porch, P-long-O-F-R-P. Church, K-H-U-F-R-P. Torch, T-long-O-F-R-P. March, M-A-F-R-P. Scorch, S-K-long-O-F-R-P. Arch, A-F-R-P. Parch, P-A-F-R-P. Perch, P-E-F-R-P. Starch, S-T-A-F-R-P. Birch, B-I-F-R-P. And then we've got larch, smirch, research, blow torch, corn starch, overarch. Okay, and look at over, that's a long O, and we're using our final effort, over. Okay, so that is 32.5. So again, you're using all of the RCH. Here's our CH, our sound for CH, and we're using the R and the CH, but it's just out of order. You're going to see F or P. So again, it's just getting used to reading that. Okay, all right, 32.6, we've got practice sentences. All of that looks good. I don't need to explain anything. Unless you have a question, let me know. Everything is pretty much in all the words. So you can look back at those if you have a question about that. Okay. All right. 32.7. Now, 32.7 is a theory principle. It's going to be the unch words. Okay. And again, such as lunch, munch, and so on. Here is our N and here's our CH. Okay. So we don't want to have to come back for the final CH. So we had to come up with something clever. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the FRPB for the unch. So lunch is going to be written as LU-FRPB. Any type of unch words are going to be FRPB. It's an easy stroke. It's just, again, knowing to use it and getting used to reading it. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and Let's talk about that a little bit more. So the effer is the CH and the PB is the N. So you have to get used to reading that because it's out of order, okay? So we've got our N here and our CH. So what we're doing is we're kind of borrowing the R here as here's our N, and then I like to just say here's my CH, and it's just out of order. So whatever you can do to help yourself, whatever little tips you can give yourself to help you remember, that go for it. And again, you're going to have to spend some extra time on this because it is a little tricky, but it's saving you a stroke, which is so worth it. Okay, so let's look at some of these words here. All right, so the first one we have is bench, B-E, effer, P-B. Inch, I, effer, P-B. Cinch, S-I, effer, P-B. Bunch, B-U, effer, P-B. Ranch, R-A, effer, P-B. Lunch, L-U, effer, P-B. Munch, M-U, effer, P-B. Wrench, W-R-E, effer, P-B. Launch, L-A-U, effer, P-B. Then we've got punch, bench, pinch, winch, hunch, grinch, clench, drench, flinch, brunch, stench, quench. Let's look at quench, K-W, quench, K-W-E, effer, P-B. Trench, branch, scrunch. Right? 32.8 are sentences that focus on the unch words. Okay, let's look at line 4, second sentence over. It says he munched on a bunch of carrots. Carrots is going to be written as K long A-R, care. Come back for O-T, come back for final Z. Carrots. Everything else there looks great. And again, if you have to, write above each of the unch words how to write it, if that helps you. Okay. 32.9. This is a much easier concept. These are just words that are consonants that are out of keyboard order, kind of like we've already covered in the past. So when words end in consonant combinations which do not follow the order of the keys on the keyboard, we come back in a separate stroke for the final consonant. The final consonant stands alone on the final side. And the reason why we don't come up with a way to write these words in one stroke is because there's not a whole lot of them. So we pretty much just write these out, okay? So the first one is going to be wasp, W-A-U-S, come back for final P. Rasp, R-A-S, come back for final P. Lisp, L-I-S, come back for final P. Now we've got range, R long A-N, come back for final J. It has the J sound, so you have to come back for final J. Okay, otherwise, if you use the G, it's going to look like rain, R long A and G. That's why we can't do that. So you have to come back for final J. Okay, flange, F-L-A-N, come back for final J. Mange, M long A-N, come back for final J. Then we have tinge, sponge, plunge, binge, helm, H-E-L, come back for final M. Film, F-I-L, come back for final M. Silk, S-I-L, come back for final K. Milk, M-I-L, come back for final K. Marsh, M-A-R, come back for final S-H. Harsh, H-A-R, come back for final S-H. Gulp, G-U-L, come back for final P. Bulb, B-U-L, come back for final B. hinge, lunge, impinge, singe, sulk, bilk, grasp, gasp, and then light bulb, L, long I-G-T, and then bulb, B-U-L, come back for final B. Okay. Okay, let's look at our sentences for 32.10. The second sentence says, Philip will lunge for the gun. Philip is going to be written F-I-L, come back for I-P, very phonetic. Okay. Everything else there looks great. 32.11, we have some new briefs. Change, K-H long A, Che. Arrange, A-R-N-G. I always think of that as like a squeeze. Percent, P-E-R-S. Percentage, P-E-R-J, all in one stroke. Return, R-U-R-N. Regard, R-A-R-D. Forward, F-A-R-D. Shipment, S-H-I-M-T. Statement, S-T long A-M-T. Okay, then we have accident. Accident's final X. So final X, accident. Action is going to be A with the flag, final X. And the reason why we have to flag it is so it doesn't conflict with acts. A final X, that's acts, A final X. So we have to flag action. Then we have okay, and I want you to look at the way okay is spelled out. So if you have that on a test, you're going to spell it out. If you ever have to write, correct something, it's not just okay, it's okay-A-Y when you go to edit that. Okay, always spell it, the whole thing out. But the way we write it on our machine is okay. And notice next to that, oak, like an oak tree, is long okay. So it doesn't conflict. And then if you have Oak Avenue, you would flag it. Okay. Freeway, F-R-O-I, Froy, F-R-O-I, Froy for freeway. All right, 32.12. We've got sentences. Let's look at line 3 for sentence. You allow 40%. Notice that percent is spelled out. That's the rule. You always write out percent as a word. Don't use your percent sign when you go to transcribe a test or a transcript. Okay? Like okay, okay-A-Y. You write it out. Okay, let's look at line 9 for sentence. It says, will you please return the book? Period. And the reason why there's a period there is because it's a demand. They're not saying, will you please return the book? No, it's a demand. Will you please return the book? Okay. All right. Let's move on over to 32.12. Practice sentences continue. Again, everything there looks great. So if you have any questions, let me know. Again, this is probably, I think, the most challenging lesson in the book. So once you get past this one, it's this is your toughest one, I think. So, all right. Now we're going to go ahead and do some Q&A. Again, let's go ahead and do a little bit of a review so I don't want you to forget. So we talked about the other day how to sign in speakers, as well as how to edit if you were to take a test or turn in a transcript, how that would look. So we talked about that, but we're going to do it again today. This time, though, instead of leaving our sign changes as Mr. Snoo or Mr. Ifpelt, today we're going to change them to their actual names. So I'm going to give those to you, and you'll see that on the format on the Q&A. plaintiff is Mr. Jones and defense is Mr. Smith. So I'm going to have you actually, I want you to transcribe this one, okay? All right, because I want you to get used to tabbing over, and I want to be able to see it and give you feedback and let you know if there's anything that you're, not getting or something that you need to correct, okay? So I'm going to have you write it, and then I want you to transcribe it. And this time, instead of me grading your steno notes, I want to see the final transcript, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and review. So here's our question bank, STKPWHR. Our answer bank is FRPBLGTS. Our court's going to be the top bank, the STPH, FPLT, and the vowels, AOEU. That's the court. Okay, plaintiff attorney is SNU, STPHAO. Defense one is IFPLT, IFPELT. Now, if you had another defense attorney, that would be IRBGS, herbs. And if you had another plaintiff attorney, plaintiff two, it would be SKWRAO, screw. But in school, you won't see a second plaintiff attorney. You might see another defense, but that will be later on down the road in speeds. Okay, so for right now, you just need to know plaintiff, SNU, and your defense one, IFPELT, your court, your question sign, and answer sign. And again, if plaintiff is questioning, you want to identify the person along with the question. So if plaintiff's questioning, I'm going to sign him in as SNU question. If defense is questioning, I'm going to sign him in as IFPELT question. And that's how I'm going to get a byline with a question. Now, if something happens and you don't get that byline, you would just add it in the edit mode if it were a test. Okay. All right. So let's look at our sample transcript real quick before I give you the dictation. So it starts off with plaintiff attorney. The plaintiff is Mr. Jones. By Mr. Jones, question. So if I were to sign in SNU question, that's what you would get. Did you go on Saturday? And again, you don't want to add any ending punctuation. Your answer would be yes. So just me putting in my answer, yes, it's going to automatically give me a question at the end of, did you go on Saturday? Now, sometimes the attorneys might say something that might not be a question. And if you get a question there, you are going to have to go in the edit mode and change that to a period, to a period. That happens, as well as the answer might be a question. And if if the software doesn't recognize that and it puts a period or a question or a period, whatever, you have to go in and change whatever needs to be changed so that it reflects whatever the correct usage is. Okay, our software is only so smart. All right, so question, what time? Answer, I don't remember. Now notice my byline on line 1 is all the way to the left margin. It's in all caps and a colon. Then line 2 I've tabbed over once. I have a question, tab again. Did you go on Saturday? Line 3, tab over, A for my answer. There's no period after the Q and the A. Tab again, yes. Period. Line 4, question or tab, question, tab again, what time? Interrog. Line 5, tab, answer. Tab again, I don't remember, period. Now, line 6, Mr. Smith, who is the defense attorney, comes in, interrupts, and he says, you don't remember? So you're just going to sign that in as IFPELT. You don't remember? He's not questioning. He's just simply clarifying something. And the witness comes in after that. So if you have total eclipse, you can just strike the answer. And it's going to know that this attorney is not the questioning attorney. and it will give you the witness. If you don't have that, that software, you have like Case Catalyst or something else and it doesn't recognize it, then you can either write witness, witness, or the witness, or you can still use the answer bank, and you would have to just go in and fix it in the edit mode, which is perfectly fine. That's why you have 2 hours to transcribe a test, okay? So I'm going to tab over the witness, all in caps, colon, 2 spaces after that, okay? It's not like the Q and the A where we tab, have a Q, tab again, and then, you know, write out the question. When we're transcribing this, Mr. Smith comes in, we would tab over all caps, Mr. Smith, colon, 2 spaces, okay? Same with line 7. Tab once, the witness, all caps, colon, 2 spaces. No comma, I don't. Okay, now, line 8. And real quick, back to line 7. The reason why we have the witness there is because it's not an answer. He's not answering the questioning attorney. He's answering the other attorney that just kind of jumped in. So that's why we have to identify him as the witness. Very important, okay? All right, so line 8, we have by Mr. Jones. We have to sign him in again because he got interrupted. So again, we're going to do SNU question. Was it before noon? Interrog. Line 10, answer, I think so. Line 11, Q, question, was it after noon? Line 12, here comes Mr. Smith again, so we're going to sign him in. I object, and don't forget your brief, IB for I object. We learned that a couple of lessons back, so make sure you're reviewing those. I object. The court comes in. So you sign in the court. Overruled. O-F-R-L-D. Don't forget your brief there. Overruled. And now Mr. Jones comes back in. We have to re-identify him again. SNU question. Do you have any idea what time? Now, if you know that this is continuing, you can throw in your interrog. You don't have to. You can always put that in when you're in the edit mode. Take your time and think about it, period. Do you have any idea what time it was? Answer, no, I don't. Now, Mr. Jones comes back in and says, I have no further questions. But there might be a chance, if you're right on top of that speaker, you might have already hit that question bank, not knowing that he's saying he's done. And if you do that, it's okay. Just know that when you're in the edit mode, that's what you're going to do. You're going to change that question to Mr. Jones, because now he's not questioning. He's talking to the court saying, I have no further questions. Okay. All right. And the court comes in, Mr. Smith. So now here comes the defense attorney. So I'm going to sign him in. If Pelt, question. When you did go, who was with you? And if I were you, I wouldn't even worry about the comma when you're writing it. Put it in. You do need a comma, but do it when you're in the edit mode, okay? All right, line 23, answer, Macy and Bill. Line 24, question, do you know their last names? And now that we know that if Pelt is questioning, once we get to line 24, we can just simply hit the question bank because we know that it's defense. Do you know their last names? Answer, no, I don't. Okay, next page, the court comes in and says, I didn't hear the last answer. Now we need to make sure you identify the witness as the witness because he's talking to the court. He's not answering questions to the questioning attorney. So again, if you've got, you have a choice there. You can either simply strike the answer, and if you have total eclipse, it will recognize that the court came in, so it'll give you the witness. Or if you have other software, you simply strike witness, witness, and it'll give you the witness. Or you can still just do the answer and change it in the edit mode. As long as you change it in the edit mode, you're okay. Now you have to re-identify Mr. Smith because he got interrupted. So here's our if Pelt question. Do you remember what the date was? Answer, May 22, 2018. Mr. Smith says, I have nothing further. And again, you may have already struck the question bank before realizing, oh, he's really talking to the court. And that's okay, just change it. But if you're kind of trailing behind, you might notice that, and then you can just hit your if pelt and you're going to get a Mr. Smith. I have nothing further. And then the court comes in and says, you may step down. Now notice this transcript is after line 7, it's blank, but we have it lined all the way down to 25. So very important. Always make sure there's 25 lines to your transcript. 25. You don't want any less or any more than 25. Each page must have 25 lines, even if the page is not full. Okay, so let's talk about our attorneys. When you get into speeds and you go to take a speed test, this is how it's going to work. The instructor is going to light up the plaintiff and say, this is your plaintiff attorney, and his name is Mr. Jones, and you're going to write this down on a piece of paper, okay? Mr. Jones, Jones. Always write it down, even if you think, oh, I know how to spell it. Sometimes there's these off-the-wall spellings you never know. So if you misspell an attorney's name, it's automatically disqualified. Okay, so take it from experience. Don't just assume. Write it down. Okay, and then the instructor is going to say, "Here's your defense attorney. His name is Mr. Smith, Smith, and you're going to write that down. Defense is Smith, and plaintiff is Jones. Make sure you write P for plaintiff, D for defense." And what's nice about that is when you go to transcribe your test, you're going to go into your software and tell your software that the plaintiff is Jones and the defense is Smith, and it will automatically change all of those. But when you go to write the test on your machine, you're still going to see SNU and if pelt until you're in the edit mode and you tell your software what they are or who they are. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and do a practice run with this one. And then for homework, I want you to actually write it. You can even use the one that I dictate now, or you can do it on your own and write it. Then I want you to transcribe it and turn it in with your homework, okay? All right, so we're going to start out with plaintiff. You're going to start out with SNU question. Here we go. Did you go on Saturday? Yes. Now you can just use your question because you know who's questioning. What time? I don't remember. Defense comes in. You don't remember? No, I don't. Was it before noon? I think so. Was it after noon? I object. Overruled. Do you have any idea what time? Take your time and think about it. Do you have any idea what time it was? No, I don't. I have no further questions. Mr. Smith, when you did go, who was with you? Macy and Bill. Do you know their last names? No, I don't. I didn't hear the last answer. No, I don't. Do you remember what the date was? May 22, 2018. I have nothing further. You may step down. All right. So if you struggled with that, just go back and practice it again. Practice it over and over until you feel comfortable with that. Okay, and you will, as you practice, it'll become more and more natural to see those sign changes, and you will get quicker and faster each time you practice, okay? Now, when you're in speeds, if that were a test, you would be given a word list after the test with any proper nouns. So in this case, you would get Macy and Bill. That's about it for the word list, as well as you'd obviously get the attorney's names. There was one, let's see here, there was one sentence that had phrases throughout the whole sentence. So hopefully you took advantage of that. Oh, here it was. On the first page, it says, when you did go, who was with you? So you can phrase when you did go, who was with you. That's why phrasing is so important, because if you phrase that whole thing, it's going to make it a lot easier. You're going to be able to stay on top of the reader, the speaker. All right, so you can either use that to transcribe your transcript, or you can write it on your own and then transcribe it, whatever you want to do. I just want to see a sample, and make sure you change the SNU and the IFPEL to their actual names. Okay, so SNU is Mr. Jones, and IFPEL defense is Mr. Smith. All right. All right, so we pretty much covered everything. I will see you soon in the read back portion of lesson 32. Have a great day.